Most travelers come to Iceland for the Golden Circle, but beyond the famous waterfalls, there are remote fjords where roads disappear into cliffs, volcanic highlands that look almost unearthly, fishing villages shaped by weather, and coastlines where the Atlantic feels endless. And most visitors never go that far. Iceland isn't just dramatic, it's remote. What people think Iceland is. When people picture Iceland, they imagine waterfalls, geysers, glaciers, and geothermal pools. And that version exists. But Iceland stretches far beyond the Golden Circle. Most visitors stay within a few hours of Reykjavik. The airport delivers them quickly to the capital, and from there, organized tours funnel thousands toward the same handful of stops. What felt vast near Reykjavik becomes something larger entirely. The horizons expand, the silence deepens. Iceland's geography doesn't repeat itself. Each region carries its own character, shaped by volcanic activity, ocean currents, and weather patterns that shift without warning. The Golden Circle, the anchor. The Golden Circle connects three of Iceland's most famous landmarks. Þingvellir sits between two tectonic plates. You can walk through the Rift Valley, where the Eurasian and North American plates pull apart, slowly but measurably, year after year. It's also where Iceland's first parliament gathered over 1,000 years ago, making it both geologically and historically significant. Geysir sends boiling water into the air. The Fida River pours over two tiers, disappearing into a narrow gorge carved by centuries of rushing glacial meltwater. The spray reaches far, and rainbows form across the mist when sunlight breaks through. It's a powerful introduction, but it's also just the beginning. These sites anchor Iceland's tourism for good reason. They're accessible, visually striking, and concentrated within a single loop that can be driven in a day. Yet they represent only a fraction of what the island contains. The Westfjords, where Iceland becomes quiet. In the far northwest, the Westfjords feel almost separate from the rest of the country. The peninsula juts into the ocean, carved by glaciers that retreated long ago, leaving behind steep cliffs and narrow valleys. Roads curve around deep fjords. They're often unpaved, sometimes single-lane, and require careful navigation. Tunnels bore through mountains, shortening distances, but adding an element of isolation. Villages sit quietly along narrow coastlines. The scale here feels larger, and the crowds rarely reach this far. The journey itself acts as a filter. Those who make it here tend to stay longer, move slower, and appreciate the effort required to arrive. This is Iceland without urgency. Weather changes quickly. Fog rolls in without warning. Rain can be sudden and heavy. But when the skies clear, the views stretch endlessly across water, rock, and sky. The Highlands, Iceland's interior. In the center of Iceland, the Highlands feel untouched. Volcanic landscapes stretch for miles. Lava fields spread in every direction, broken occasionally by crater lakes, geothermal vents, and patches of vibrant green moss that cling to the rock. Roads are rough and only open during summer. Snow and ice make the interior inaccessible for much of the year. Even in warmer months, four-wheel drive is essential. Rivers cross directly through the terrain. There are no bridges in many areas. Drivers must ford streams, judging depth and current before proceeding. It's remote in a way that feels deliberate. The colors change. Black lava, red rock, green moss. Most visitors leave Iceland thinking they've seen it. But the deeper you explore, the more it changes. If you're drawn to destinations beyond the obvious, this channel is built for that. We focus on the places that require a second look, the regions that don't appear in every itinerary, the experiences that take time to unfold. Because travel isn't just about checking landmarks off a list. Small fishing villages. Along Iceland's coast, small fishing villages remain essential. Harbors are filled with working boats. Not tourist vessels, but trawlers and longliners that leave early and return with the day's catch. Colorful houses face the sea. Painted in shades of red, blue, yellow, and green, they stand out against the gray rock and dark water. Fishing still supports many communities. Iceland's economy has diversified, but in coastal towns, the rhythm of life still follows the tides and the seasons. These towns move at a slower pace. Cafes close early. Shops keep limited hours. Social life centers around community halls and local gatherings. Conversations often turn to the sea, its moods, its risks, its generosity. In these villages, tourism exists, but doesn't dominate. Visitors are welcomed, but they're not the reason these places exist. Arctic light and northern skies. Iceland's light changes dramatically through the year. In summer, the midnight sun barely sets. Twilight lingers for hours. Darkness never fully arrives. The horizon glows with amber and pale blue, even at midnight. It disorients some travelers. Sleep becomes optional. Activities stretch late into the evening. In winter, darkness stretches for long hours. By mid-December, daylight lasts only 4 to 5 hours. The sun rises late and sets early, casting long shadows across the snow. But the northern lights often appear during that time. Green ribbons moving silently across the sky. Sometimes faint, sometimes vivid. They pulse and shift, driven by solar winds interacting with Earth's magnetic field. Standing in the cold, watching the sky come alive creates a sense of connection to something vast and indifferent. The aurora doesn't perform. It simply exists, visible to those patient enough to wait. Icelandic food and local simplicity. Icelandic cuisine reflects its environment. Seafood dominates the coast. Cod, haddock, and Arctic char appear frequently. Langoustine, caught fresh, is considered a delicacy. Lamb raised on open land appears in many dishes. The sheep graze freely during summer, feeding on wild grasses and herbs, which gives the meat a distinct flavor. Meals are simple and hearty. Stews, soups, and grilled fish are common. Rye bread, dense and slightly sweet, often accompanies meals. It's designed to sustain, to warm, to provide energy against cold and wind, and deeply local. Ingredients are sourced nearby. Fishing boats supply restaurants directly. Dairy comes from small farms. Greenhouses use geothermal heat to grow vegetables year-round. Why travelers are going beyond Reykjavik. Iceland's popularity has grown quickly. A decade ago, visitor numbers were modest. Now, millions arrive each year, drawn by stunning imagery and accessible travel. But many travelers now go beyond Reykjavik. They rent vehicles and drive themselves. They book accommodations in smaller towns. They spend weeks instead of days. Ring road journeys circle the entire island. The route stretches over 800 miles, connecting coastal towns, volcanic landscapes, glacial lagoons, and black sand beaches. It's become a pilgrimage of sorts, a way to see Iceland's full geographic range. Remote regions offer space and silence. Areas like the Westfjords, the northern coast, and the Highlands attract those seeking solitude. Instead of short visits, people stay longer. They adapt to Iceland's rhythms. They wait out storms. They hike without rushing. They return to the same spot at different times of day. The landscape rewards patience. Details emerge slowly. The way light shifts across a glacier, the sound of wind through a canyon, the gradual unfolding of a long summer evening. This approach requires flexibility. Plans change based on weather. Detours become discoveries. Stillness becomes part of the experience. Who this side of Iceland is for. This side of Iceland is for travelers who enjoy distance. Not just physical distance, but emotional and mental space. The kind that comes from spending hours on empty roads, far from connectivity and convenience. For those comfortable with quiet. Silence can be unsettling at first, but it also sharpens awareness. You notice details, textures, sounds, shifts in light that disappear in busier environments. For people who prefer landscapes over crowds, Iceland's geography is its main attraction. Not hotels, not restaurants, not nightlife. The land itself. If you want dramatic scenery, you'll find it here. Waterfalls that roar with glacial meltwater, cliffs that drop hundreds of feet into the Atlantic, volcanic craters that look impossibly symmetrical. But you'll also find something else. Space. Room to think. Room to breathe. Room to move without negotiating crowds or schedules. This version of Iceland isn't for everyone. It requires preparation, self-reliance, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. But for those it suits, it offers something increasingly rare, a place where nature still dictates the terms. Iceland isn't just waterfalls and geysers. It's remote fjords, volcanic highlands, quiet coastal towns, and skies that change without warning. And once you move beyond the obvious stops, you realize how much more there is. Layers of landscape, pockets of culture, moments that can't be scheduled or guaranteed. This is the Iceland most tourists never see, not because it's hidden, but because it requires intention. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the tourist version. What part of Iceland would you explore first?